Muy bien. Para aquellos que necesiten la interpretación al español, el fondo de la pantalla van a encontrar la modalidad del icono del globo, le dan clic ahí y ahí está el globo.
Great, thank you. Okay, I've enabled interpretation services, so that should be active now. Great. Well, I will start us off to welcome you all to this application workshop for the District 5 Community Public Art Project Grants. With me today is Tracy Lyons, the Chief of Staff for 5th District Supervisor and Board Chair Linda Hopkins. Tracy, do you want to say anything to introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. Like Tara shared, I'm Tracy Lyons, Chief of Staff for Supervisor Hopkins in Sonoma County's 5th District. I'm here on behalf of Supervisor Hopkins, who had set aside $100,000 in District 5 community infrastructure funds after hearing from many residents of unincorporated communities that they're interested in seeing investments into the beautification of unincorporated downtown areas. We really appreciate Creative Sonoma's partnership on this initiative and are looking forward to seeing these public art projects come to fruition.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, Tracy. And just to introduce myself fully, my name is Tara Thompson. I'm the director of Creative Sonoma. Creative Sonoma is a department, a division within the Economic Development Collaborative, which is a county agency. And our mission is to support and advance the creative community in Sonoma County. And we've done that through grant programs, professional development initiatives, arts education, programming and support, and a variety of convenings and trainings to the creative community here. So we are thrilled to partner with District 5 on this project, on this grant program, and to see some great projects come forward in District 5. So before we begin, I'd like to state that the County of Sonoma recognizes that we are on the ancestral lands of the Coast Miwok, Pomo, and Wapo, who are the original caretakers of this area. We respectfully acknowledge the indigenous peoples who have been stewarding and maintaining relationships on this land as knowledge keepers for millennia. Additional information about Creative Sonoma's commitment to equity can be found on our website. For today, our goal is to provide an overview of this grant opportunity and walk through the application line by line and answer any questions. Please use the Q&A feature of Zoom. You can also send any follow-up questions directly to Creative Sonoma at creativesonoma@sonoma-county.org. And we'd be happy to set up an appointment with you to discuss further, or if it's something we can answer through email, happy to do that as well. So I'm going to share my screen and start us off with the grant page where you can find information about this grant. Is that coming through? Can you see that? Okay, great. So this is Creative Sonoma's website, creativesonoma.org. And if you navigate to our grants page, you will see this opportunity listed under our active grant programs. If you click on it, it'll open up and you can click here, learn more here, and then that will take you to the page for this grant. This grant is intended to enable creative projects in the 5th District that demonstrates the power of the arts to contribute to social cohesion of our communities through beautification of downtown areas or neighborhoods. The focus of this grant is for unincorporated 5th District locations that are publicly accessible. And as Tracy said, this program is being made possible by support from the 5th District through Linda Hopkins' infrastructure funds. And so all of our applications are submitted through Submittable, which is an online platform for submitting applications for grants or other projects. And so we will not be receiving handwritten applications. This page does include the project guidelines, And so I encourage you to read through all of these, but it's also included once you click here to apply. So all the information that's on this page is also in the actual application once you click apply. But a few important details to point out here, the important dates. So today, here we are on January 23rd doing this application workshop. We are recording this session, and the link to the video will be added here to this website. So those who weren't able to participate today have a chance to review. The application deadline is February 10th at the end of the day. And then we anticipate announcing the awards in March, but don't have a set date yet for that. And the funding period for these grants is April through September of this year. So projects should be on a scale that they can be planned, developed, and executed within that 6-month production timeline. This also goes into the application requirements. So this gives you a sense of what you'll be required to enter once you click submit when you are ready to apply. So a confirmed location for the project is required, including an indication that you've begun a process or have in hand appropriate permits or permissions to use that site for this project. We also will be asking for a preliminary sketch, rendering, or design of the proposed project, a project description indicating community support and artist involvement, a proposed project budget, including revenues and expenses, and a proposed timeline that would include planning, any community engagement, the implementation of the project, the length of display, and how you anticipate any maintenance needs being taken care of if there would be any. And again, questions can be directed to our email and then or this phone number, either or. So I'm going to go ahead and click on submit. This is where you will go when you do this. This is Creative Sonoma's landing page on our submittable account. And then our open opportunities are listed here. So right now, this is the only open grant. And so you want to go ahead and click. Anywhere you click on here will get you where you want to go. So you can click on apply, guidelines, or the title. And this is what will open up for you. However, if you have never joined or used Submittable before you get to the actual application, you will be asked to provide an email address and create a password for Submittable. And this is how you will kind of track your application. So every time you want to work on your application, if you want to work on it, save it, come back in, it'll all be saved under your Submittable account. And so that's just a quick step to create access to this platform. And then you'll log in every time you want to work on your application. And you'll see your, whatever state draft you have will be saved here. So again, these are the guidelines for this grant. And I'll just touch on a few more things here. The project goals are to improve public spaces through these creative projects that are accessible to 5th District residents and visitors, to improve public spaces in unincorporated areas in the 5th District, to build a sense of shared creativity for West County residents, to generate support from the community and or local artists. And, this is kind of an optional thing to focus on if it meets if it matches up with your project, but to really reflect the diversity of West County communities. The available funding is, we anticipate that there will be approximately 10 awards of up to $10,000, with most grant awards being in the $5,000 range. So this is dependent upon the number of applications we receive and the amounts being requested. The eligibility, so in order to be eligible to apply for this grant, you should be a nonprofit organization, a school, a chamber of commerce, faith organization, a neighborhood or business group, or a county department or another county or another governmental agency. Organizations within the 5th district obviously are eligible to apply and are encouraged to, but your organization does not have to be located in the 5th district in order to apply. The project site does, but your organization does not. And specific individual artists are also invited to think of creative projects and would need to partner with a school, a nonprofit, one of these organizations in order to complete the project. And so that organization would actually be the applicant. But artists can approach organizations in order to put an idea forward. Let's see. We talked about project requirements to some extent, but these are really the project needs to be community and artist supported in some way or artist supported. Creative projects that demonstrate the power of arts to contribute to social cohesion, as we mentioned, as one of the main goals. Projects developed with 5th district communities and projects located in the unincorporated areas of 5th district. So these are things that I've already mentioned, but these are the actual requirements in order for the project to be eligible. What is not eligible are projects that would be located outside of the 5th district, projects located in incorporated, so within city limits, such as within the city limits of Sebastopol locations, and projects proposed for Caltrans sites are not eligible for this grant program. Specifics about those locations, they can be streets, sidewalks, alleys, plazas, storefronts, or any other public space, interior or exterior, in the 5th districts that is publicly accessible. And an applicant should have an appropriate location confirmed prior to submitting your application. Some form of permission, so a written permission, some kind of agreement for use, a permit, must be provided to the county before we can award the grant. Let's see. I already went over important dates and then how to apply. So I'm just going to go through. Let me check to see what questions we have in our Q&A, and then I will start in on our actual line by line of the application here.
And sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm hearing from one of the participants that they're having trouble hearing the Spanish interpretation. So Ricardo, if there's a way to turn up your volume or adjust your mic, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, great. So it looks like, yes, you've answered some questions. Yes, ephemeral projects qualify. I think the idea is, public art can be a permanent, temporary, or somewhere in between type of project. So things that are temporary, pop-up activations of a space, I think are eligible. Tracy, I'm not sure. We haven't specifically talked about like if it's a pre-existing festival of some kind, if that's eligible. But I think in general, the idea of activation and beautification and placemaking project could be eligible. So I think that's the best answer I can give at this point for that. I see you have there's a hand raised. I'm going to get through this application. Philip, if you want to put your answer in the Q&A, we can take a look at it. Otherwise, I'm going to work my way through the application line by line, and then we can open up for questions at the end. Thank you. Okay, so the contact information is the first part of the application. And there would be obviously the applicant's name is the first one. And again, eligible applicants are those that are listed here. So the organizations, the groups, the schools, etc. The name of the person who will be the main contact, the project lead, would go next. They're the person that we'd be communicating with about the grant process, and if you are funded, all of the details related to implementation of the project. The project lead's email address, and their daytime phone number, where the applicant is physically located, and then if you have a different mailing address, include that as well. And then we'd like to track which supervisorial district the applicant is based. So that's a drop down. If you don't know which supervisor district you're in, there's a link here to look up which district you are in. And then if you have a website as the applicant, please include that here as well. Okay, so then in section 2, this is more details about the proposed project. The project title. This is something that can change if needed, but we do want a title so that we can recognize and identify the projects that are being submitted. We would like a brief 2-sentence description of the project. This is for purposes of promoting who receives grants, should you be awarded a grant. And then please enter the amount of funds requested. The maximum is $10,000, but you can put that amount here. And then we are asking where will your project take place? And we're looking for the name of the location, if it's a facility or a building, or if it's an exact address, range of addresses. So for example, we've listed a bus stop in front of Safeway at 16405 Highway 116, Guerneville. That would be a description, a good enough description. And then we are asking for, please describe the steps you have taken to confirm the use of this proposed location for the project, including obtaining any appropriate permits or permissions. So as I mentioned, we really want to see what steps you've taken to confirm the use of that, and to note that we will require some form of permission or permit in order to issue the grant to you. And then we are looking for, we've added an optional field here for you to upload any documentation if you have it already of permission to use that location. You can attach a PDF here, a JPEG. So if it's an image, a picture, or a PDF of something that you have indicating permission to use the site. We're asking for a brief project timeline that indicates the planning stages through the presentation or installation dates. And again, reminder that projects should be on a scale that they can be planned, developed, and executed within a 6-month production schedule. And then line 15 is to describe your project. This is where you can take a lot more time and use a lot more words to describe your project. And there's 5 questions that we would like you to answer in this box. So what are your project goals, including community and artistic objectives, and how will they be accomplished? How will your project improve and/or enliven the location or site where it will take place? Why was the site chosen? Who will be involved in producing the project? Specifically, who are the artists, collaborators, and/or partners? Specifically, what 5th District community has been involved and supports this project? How does your project reflect the diversity of the West County community? And what is the anticipated lifespan of the project, meaning how long will it last? And how do you plan to maintain it during this period, if that project requires that? So please try to answer all of those questions in this description box so that we can appropriately get a sense of the project. And the last section, section 3, is project budget and proposed design. So we're looking for a proposed budget for your project. This is a table that we're asking you to populate with amounts. So it's not something that requires you to create your own and upload anything. You just enter it directly into here. So for instance, If I have a project that I'm requesting $9,000 for, you would list that in line number 1. If you have any other grant funding that you're using towards the project, you would list that in line number 2. If you have individual donations or corporate sponsors or partners or income from fundraising activities, or you're using cash on hand, those would all be entered in these lines 2 through 6. This table will auto calculate for you. So it will, once you're done entering into each of these boxes, it will add them together and list your total revenue here. Similarly, when you go to project expenses, it will be auto-populating that as well. So for instance, if you have artists involved and the budget for the artistic personnel is $5,000, you have an administrator helping to manage the project, that's $2,000. If materials and supplies cost $1,000, insurance, permits, licenses, marketing. So these are all things that you can determine what best fit for your project. And then again, it will auto populate and list your total expenses. And that should equal the same as your revenue. And so this bottom line should be 0. Okay. We are also asking for some notes on this budget. So you'll notice there are asterisks included for some of the lines in this table. So the list here under item 17 asks, kind of what you need to describe if you have an amount in that field, you need to describe what that is. So for example, in your revenue section, if you listed that you have other grants, we'd like to know what other grants, where are they coming from? If you have corporate sponsors or partners, we'd like to know who, and we would like you to list them. So those are the types of information we're asking for in the item 17 explanatory budget notes. And then lastly, we're asking for the preliminary sketch or rendering or design of the proposed project. So you can upload up to 3 files here. So when you click on choose file, it will navigate to wherever your files are. You can choose all 3 to upload at one time, or you can upload them individually, but you will do it all here within this one field on the application. And the files can be PDFs, JPEGs, PowerPoints, and so we hope that that meets your needs for uploading those types of files. There's a terms of use that we ask you to click here. This is a pop-up box that talks about that you've read the grant guidelines, that the information you're submitting is true and correct to the best of your knowledge, and that if you are awarded a grant, you would be contracting with the county to furnish the services specified in the grant application. And then there's also some information here about, because we use Submittable, you will receive notification about this grant application through Submittable. And so you want to make sure to whitelist the Submittable notification emails or check your spam to make sure that they're not going in there. So there's some instructions there about how to do that. So at the very bottom here, if you're not ready to submit this, you can say save draft and it will save it for you and you can come back and work on it later. When you are ready to submit, you will hit the apply button. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing for now. We can come back in if there are questions, but let's look at what questions we do have now to see if we can answer some of those. Looks like you answered quite a few of them, Tracy. Thank you. But let's see what we have that's open.
I see a question about eligibility in a privately owned park. Did you want to speak to that?
Sure, yeah. I think that as long as you have permission from the property owner that and it meets all the other project criteria, so it's in an unincorporated fifth district location and that it is a publicly accessible location. So as long as the private park doesn't mean that it's not public, right? That it can't be accessed by the public. So yes, I mean you would need to provide a description that it is accessible to the public, that it's in a fifth district unincorporated area, and that you can provide us with written permission or some kind of agreement with the property owner allowing you to place the project there. Can the nonprofit submit one for more than one project? I believe the answer is yes. We have not set that we have not limited submissions to one submission per applicant. Um, so I think that is something that is acceptable. Um, I would be project lead and artist at the applicant website need to be the org or the artist or both. I think that you could include both if you'd like. I think that the application is specifically asking for the applicant's website, so that would be the org submitting the grant. But in the description of who you're working with and the artist, you would be listing the artist there. You can include a link to the artist website there. That is probably the most appropriate place to include that. Can the application deadline be later? At this time, we are going to aim to keep it the same. If there's something that I can assist you with to help with the application and being able to meet that deadline, I'm happy to meet with you and work out a way to do that. And the project completion date, we are trying to keep this within this year, and so we are hoping for that to be the same. But again, if there's something I can discuss with you that there's a way for us to help accomplish that, I'm happy to do that. Let's see, efforts be combined. Yeah. So Philip, I think it would be great if we had a chat. I'd love to talk with you about all of these things. So maybe I'll reach out to you, or if you want to send me an email, let's set up a time that we could chat through those. Because yes, I think that we can address some of your questions, but let's talk about it. Let's see. And oh yeah, go ahead, Tracy.
I can speak to Walt's question. He asked if I live in Forestville and if my grant request is for a public sculpture for the downtown area of Forestville, and I hope to site it in the new redeveloping downtown park. Do I need to get clearance from the park or whom exactly? The Forestville Planning Association, the FPA, is the owner and operator of that park. And so what you would want to reach out to them, I can follow up by sharing a link to their website here in the chat.
Great, thank you. Let's see, there's a question about that you have a location in historical corridor. I think I'd need to know more information about where that is to better assist with that one. So Amy, maybe we could chat about that. Um, there may be there may be a process we would need to look at for that, but I'm not positive. It depends on the location and I think what you would be proposing for that building. So let's talk further. Okay, do we need to identify the project or can it be used for future projects? This needs to be something that you can identify and describe in the application. So we do need you to know what that project is and that it can be implemented within the grant period, which is April through September. Someone asked if there's a preference for exterior locations over interior locations. I think that there's a lot of factors there. Obviously, if it's a fifth district unincorporated site and it's publicly accessible, whether it's indoors or outdoors, isn't necessarily better one way or the other in terms of the grant criteria. However, there are things to consider. So something outside has, weather concerns, vandalism concerns. Is it, made out of a material that's going to be durable, easy to clean, take care of, things like that. Interior locations may be better for a specific project. So if you're, yeah, if you have more questions about that, I'd be happy to talk further about that if you're trying to decide. But those would be the considerations that I would think of in terms of making that decision. Okay, Amy, yes, okay, Valley Ford, yeah, well, let's chat about that one. Is Valley Ford unincorporated? I believe so, yes, so you're good there. I think we just need to, yeah, I'd like to better understand what building, what we'd need to do there, so yeah. Okay, I think I addressed all the ones that I can see currently. Did I miss any that you can see, Tracy?
No, but I did just want to add that all of District 5 is unincorporated with the exception of the city of Sebastopol. And so I've seen a few questions about specific regions within District 5. I'll also share a link to a website where you can check which district you're in, which may be helpful as well.
Great, thank you. Okay. Any other questions? For those who have more kind of more questions, more in-depth kind of discussion required, please reach out to me. But and I'm happy to set up an appointment to discuss with you in more detail and try to get you some clarity on those things. And if you think of anything else while you're working on the application, please reach out if we didn't address that today. So again, you can email Creative Sonoma at creativesonoma@sonoma-county.org, and we'll be sure to get back to you right away.
And I do see one last minute question
Okay.
that we may have missed a couple of minutes ago. If a project is for a public sculpture, is this grant for a permanent installation, or is there some kind of duration planned? And at the end, who owns the work? Does the artist retain it, or does the county own it?
Yeah, great question. So, yeah, the intention of these grant funds are to allow projects to happen and to take place, but it is not, we are not commissioning a permanent sculpture that becomes, or a permanent piece of art that becomes a part of the county's collection of items to take care of. So the county will not be maintaining any projects that are created through this grant program. So really it relies more on details related to who owns the site, how long are they going to allow it to be there? If the site owner wants it to be permanent, maybe there's a conversation that can happen at that level to determine length of display or permanence in general. During, like I said earlier, during the time that it is on display, maintenance does need to be considered as a part of, the applicant's responsibility, or the grantee's responsibility, I should say. So, so for instance, if it is vandalized or damaged in some way, it would be the applicant's responsibility to work with the site owner, whoever that is, to deal with that. So cleaning it up, repairing it, or even removing it from the site. So really this grant is somewhat more appropriate for temporary type projects, but it doesn't prohibit those permanent things. There are just details that would need to be worked out with the site owner.
I'm not seeing any additional questions.
Okay, great. Well, we wrapped that up quicker than we thought, but I appreciate all of you attending and asking great questions. Again, really happy to continue to work with any of all of you or anyone else that is going to view this webinar after the fact. If you have questions, please reach out and we will do our best to get you some answers. And I look forward to seeing the applications come in. Thank you so much. Tracy, is there anything else you'd like to end with?
That's it. Thanks so much, Tara.
Yep.
And thank you everyone for your interest.
Yep. Thank you all. Thank you so much, Ricardo.